Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. A lot of news to get through, so let's jump right into it here on First at 3. Breaking news from the unicameral today. A new anti-abortion ban bill is now on the table for Nebraska legislators to debate this session. Now, the wide-ranging abortion bill would ban most abortions after 6 weeks. Representative Joni Albrecht is leading the charge here, but she was joined by other legislators and anti-abortion advocates at the Capitol today. There are a handful of exceptions to her proposed bill. Abortions will be allowed for ectopic pregnancies and medical emergencies that do threaten the mother's life. Abortions can also be performed if the pregnancy is the result of rape or incest. There will be no criminal or civil penalties for the woman who pursues an abortion or the doctor who performs it. However, the doctor might lose his or her medical license. Again, this is all proposed legislation right now. Reaction to the proposal did pour in quickly on both sides. Nebraska Family Alliance, who does support the bill, says, quote, "We are proud to support legislation that will protect unborn babies," end quote. While Planned Parenthood put out a release noting abortion is still safe and legal in Nebraska, but it is hanging by a thread, end quote. The ACLU of Nebraska noted in their release this afternoon that more abortion bans are still possible and bills can be introduced at the unicameral through January 18th. WOWT's Brian Mastry was at the state capitol for today's announcement. There is a lot to break down with this controversial topic, and he will do so coming up throughout our evening newscast.